Hello DevNexus, and thank you for coming to the NerdVision booth. So I'm David Thacker, business unit owner of NerdVision. If you want to get in contact with me, please find my contact details on display now. So you might be wondering, what is NerdVision? NerdVision is a debugging and dynamic logging tool. So if we quickly look at the agenda, we'll be covering how NerdVision solves a problem, introduction to NerdVision, feature deep dive, new and upcoming features. So if you wanted to describe NerdVision as a one-liner, NerdVision is a debugging and dynamic logging tool. NerdVision allows you to extract any data you want from a running application from any line of code without having to restart or redeploy an application. NerdVision uses what we call trace points. You may have heard of this term if you're familiar with VS Code. Alternatively, you may have also heard of them as non-breaking breakpoints. This is what we originally called them, but it's a little confusing. So with NerdVision, we call them trace points. Trace points allow developers, SRE and DevOps to collect snapshots of their data on demand to better understand their software deployed in any environment. Log points allow you to dynamically collect additional log information and send this off to integrations, what we call pipelines. We support a whole host of integrations, including Datadog, Slack, Sentry, Zapier, and many others. So now you're probably getting the idea that NerdVision users can rapidly debug application issues and really get the understanding of why an error occurred. Right, before we go too far in the presentation, I want to show you a quick demo of what NerdVision is. Okay, so here we've got a very basic app built in Python. So we do 9 plus 9 equals 18. So as you can see, this calculator functions like a normal calculator should. If we do 7 minus 7 equals 0. So everything looks like it's functioned correctly. If we now do 7 minus 9 equals 2. So something's a bit weird going on. Okay, so let's take a look at NerdVision. So in NerdVision, we can see the code here. So we can start at the very top. But for this specific issue, we want to look at the subtraction handler. Okay, so at this point, I want to collect not a log point, but a full stack snapshot. Okay, so the last snapshot that was taken was 8 minutes ago. Okay, so if I do 8 minus 9 now, minus 19. And what we can see is less than a minute ago, we just had a new snapshot come in. So 28 minus 9 equals minus 19. Okay, so these are the numbers that we put in. If we look into the code, what we can see is that we've got the int1 and int2 the wrong way around in this argument. But what I'm trying to show you here is that you can actually see the variables that were put into the application. If we click into, you can see all the headers. And that is a basic demo of NerdVision. So if you think about a more complicated, more distributed application, then you can really see how this would be beneficial. So let's run through a typical scenario. So your PagerDuty goes off, or you get some alerts on your APM tool, let's say Datadog. You have a defect in production. You don't have all the necessary information in your APM tool. So you look through the logs, but don't find the necessary log information. Moving on from this, a developer will probably not have enough insight into the error. So you write some new logs, get them tested, open up a pull request, wait for your CI pipeline. You then need to get approvals for the changes, and then you need to wait for the next build and redeployment. Once all that is done, you have to wait and hope you catch the error. If not, then you need to do this all over again and again until you find the error. What NerdVision aims to do is radically simplify this process and bring the developer into what is actually happening in production. With NerdVision, you set up some data collection trace points and immediately get the data back of what is happening in your production environment, just like if it was on your local machine, but threads don't get halted, having an instant feedback loop between your development team and production. So if we look back at the previous scenario and apply NerdVision, so you become aware of an issue in Datadog or Sentry. You then add some log points, collect data with NerdVision. This new data can then be fed back into your tool stack, back into the tests in order to prevent it from happening again. As you can see, NerdVision does not aim to replace any of the tools in your stack, simply complement and extend your existing tools. This is so much so that we've been working closely with the Datadog team, and last month we released on the Datadog marketplace. So you can get built for NerdVision by Datadog. What you get is a single pane of glass with the insight you're familiar with inside Datadog. You can find out more about the Datadog marketplace under integrations. We'll quickly cover this integration later in the presentation. If you're at all bothered about the health of your CI/CD pipeline, then you'll be wanting to greatly reduce the time it takes you to repair your application. The most time-consuming part of this process is the mean time to know. This can be reduced by about 80% using NerdVision. Many of our customers have dramatically reduced their MTTK from days to hours. This is especially the case when their pipelines are suboptimal. For example, we had a customer who could only deploy once a day. NerdVision was able to dramatically change how they debug. To set up and install NerdVision, it is really a super simple process. If you're used to installing App Dynamics, Datadog or New Relic, then you simply add the NerdVision agent to your code, along with the API key, and redeploy. You can find out more by going to docs.nerd.vision. Next, you'll need to connect your code repository to NerdVision. This is either GitLab, Bitbucket, or a private repo. We won't see any of your code at this point, it's just cached in your browser, so you can see the line number you're setting your trace point on. Here is a view of the NerdVision architecture. You can see in this diagram, NerdVision is deployed on a user's application deployment. The NerdVision agents connect to the NerdVision service via a secure connection that is hosted on AWS and Google Cloud. The NerdVision client displays the code in your browser, but like I said, this is just cached in your browser and is directly opened from your Git provider. The NerdVision service does not see your data. Data can then be sent from the NerdVision service straight to your other tools in your stack via NerdVision pipelines. So while we're talking about security and your data, NerdVision also has Pii Reduction. This allows you to ensure that your information stays confidential. If you'd like to try this or have any additional questions, please contact us directly so we can get this activated on your account. Please note that this is only available for the enterprise plans. The NerdVision service does not get to see your code. NerdVision is hosted on AWS and Google Cloud. Like you know, both providers are secure and are both SOC 2 and ISO 27001 compliant. Our practices are SOC 2 compliant, and we're currently working through an audit process with our auditor, and we'll be super excited to be delivering you this later in the year. So, on a deployment of NerdVision, you can control where it is deployed and active, and what instances are triggered by NerdVision. This is done via workspace tags. In scenario 1, NerdVision is deployed on all application instances, but is only active on a select few, production and development, excluding staging. In scenario 2, NerdVision is deployed on a selected set of environments and all in production. You have the simple flexibility to choose what instances you want to target. This is especially useful if you're trying to fault find or you are getting particular issues in a certain region. So in this segment, we'll quickly run through the basics of the NerdVision UI. The top right menu allows you to create additions to your current workspace, including new code repositories, pipelines, and user groups. Moving slightly to the left, still in the top right hand corner, you can see your connected applications, including the number and what application instances are currently connected. The gutter is a crucial part of the NerdVision UI. This is where you set your trace points and log points. You simply click beside the line number you want to collect data for. Doing this will open up the trace point modal, so you can choose the parameters that will be triggered. The code directory is a drop-down so that you can select and choose the code repository you want to use. Once selected, you can then see the file structure you can drill into. There's also a search bar if you want to find a specific file. The code view allows you to see the file you have selected and select and create trace points. Please note that from this view, you cannot edit your code. Your DevOps teams wouldn't be too happy if we allowed you to do this. So this is a trace point modal, which you get to from clicking in the gutter. The modal allows you to control and fine-tune your data collection, including defining the log message, conditions, watches, and the variables you want to use. On the top right of the modal, clicking the drop-down allows you to select the trace point type, allowing you to select single frame, full frame, trace point, or a log point. Next are the advanced trace point options. Going into here allows you to change the file count from unlimited using -1 to whatever number you want. You can also adjust the rate limit and choose the pipeline you want to send it down if you want to send it to Splunk, Slack, Jira, or whatever location you want. So by this point you have set a trace point. This screen allows you to manage any trace points you have set in the files you have open. Opening up the file allows you to manage the trace points that are set inside it. Hitting the 3 dots allows you to manage your data collection. log points and trace points. Clicking on the snapshot menu, which is also on the top right, allows you to see all the snapshots that you have triggered. Clicking into one allows you to select it and view the associated data. Once you've selected a snapshot, if you move to the bottom left of your screen, allows you to view the frames associated with that snapshot you have collected that were triggered from the trace points you've just set. Moving to the bottom right of the screen, you can now see the variables that are associated with the snapshot you are looking at. You can then click into and drill into each of the variables to get the information you need. Going to the bottom tab on the left of the menu is where the logs are located. This is where you can review and interact with your log messages. Okay, so in this demo, we'll be covering the features we've just learned about and going a little bit more in depth on how you can use NerdVision. From there, what we'll be doing is looking at how you can send data off into other tools back into your stack. Okay, so for this first bit, let's go to line 51 and I'll show you using some conditional breakpoints. So if we set condition, so let's say when int1, so variable 1 equals 66. Okay, and we click save. So this is a log point, not a trace point. So we'll be looking at int1 equals 66 just down in here. Okay, so if we do 56 divided by 3, I know this is wrong, that's intentional. Okay, 18.6. So if we check, there's nothing there. And if we just come here and prove to you, so when int1 equals 66. So if we change this now to 66 divided by 3 equals 22. And it's already updated. So int1 equals 66, int2 equals 3, result equals 22. So result equals 22. There you go. So that is how you would use a conditional log point. You can also have that as a trace point, but for this we did a log point. Okay, so with that integration that I spoke about, this data automatically goes off to Datadog. So I'll be showing you that in a moment, but not yet. Okay, so what we'll do next is we'll change this to a full frame trace point. So let's get rid of that log message, and the condition this time will be 54. So 54 divided by 2 equals 27. Okay, so I've run that a couple of times now, and what we can see up here is there's a new snapshot. Okay, so if we click into that snapshot and then click up here into the frames and variables, what we can see is the 54, the 3 and the 18. Here, 54, 3 and 18. Okay, so perfect. So let me just run this again without 54 this time, so 56 divided by 3. And what we can see is there's nothing there beyond the 54, the 3 and the 18, which is not. It's 56 divided by 3 is 18.6, so not the same numbers. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now if we go over to Datadog, what we can see is that this is a Datadog dashboard. So what you can see are some of the numbers that we've been having coming in. So this is the count of the logs. So the logs are automatically sent up to Datadog. If we scroll down here, you can see every time a trace point is fired. Okay, so beyond that, what you can see is a breakdown of the areas of where the code has been firing. So we're on the past 15 minutes right now, but if we change it to the past month, and then from here what you can see are the hotspots of the code areas of where your logs have been fired, and by the host that they've been fired for. Okay, so that's really useful. So 2303, and that's 2306 was the last time we had a log point. So if we go back to 2303 was the right one. So there we go. Alright, so beyond that, what we can also do is send data off to other locations. So for example, we have our NerdVision demo dashboard. We can see the heat map of where these trace points have been fired and in what location, and also a percentage of them, along with a fire count. So what we can do is hit refresh. What I've also got set is that with my integration, things get fired and set off to my Twitter account. So here with the NerdVision integration, you can see that we've sent some trace point information to Twitter. So really with NerdVision, you can send your data anywhere. So I've just shown you it on Google Data Studio, on Twitter. We also send it by email, Slack, Jira, and so forth. So beyond that, what we can also send it to is your log aggregator. So we just showed you Datadog. So literally, we can send NerdVision data anywhere. Okay, and that is more or less a very quick demo of NerdVision. Thank you so much for taking the time to look at our demo. So if you've got any questions, feel free to drop us an email or stop by the booth. Alternatively, what you can do is sign up for NerdVision and try it out for yourself. So me and the team will be more than happy to answer any questions you've got and help you get onboarded onto NerdVision. Thank you so much and talk to you soon.